This is Chris with Autism Anywhere. We would like to share with you some video from our cruise that we did over Thanksgiving of 2021. While we've done a Autism on the Seas cruise before, we'd never done one with the family without that, basically without that net in place, so we weren't sure how this would go, but we got such a good deal we figured we'd give it a shot. So I'm going to share with you some of our experiences and thoughts and tips of what we learned on this trip. Every sea day morning, we woke up early and went to breakfast, usually at the main dining room, and then hit the hot tub and let the kids play in the kids area just to get energy out first thing in the morning. That way we got pool time out of the way when it was the least busy, and that seemed to work well. Explaining dining, there's two main places where you'll be eating. There's the main dining room, which is the sit-down table service meal where the waiters come and serve you and do everything you need to do. And then there's the Windjammer on Royal Caribbean. That's the main buffet that's near the pool area. So the sit down is nice and it's open on sea days, usually for both breakfast, lunch, and dinner. On port days, usually it's just open for dinner. It varies, but sometimes they are open for breakfast now that I think about it. The Windjammer has the benefit of you can just grab your food, eat, and go. So if you're in a hurry, that's an excellent opportunity. But I will say it can get busy. So the main dining room is a much slower, relaxed place to get breakfast. And since they bring in everything to you, you can sit there with your kids and don't have to have one person sit at the table with them while one person gets lots of plates. So that's a definite benefit to that. I know a lot of questions that we had were related to things like the official formal night on the cruise, and I'll say that it's really however formal you want to and can get to, and that only applies to the main dining room. So you can just go to the Windjammer and it doesn't matter. For when we had formal nights, we attempted polo shirts on the boys with jeans. That didn't always work, but just solid t-shirts were fine and no one will really bat an eye at it. It's mainly for your own pictures and that, because usually on the formal nights they have more picture locations set up so you can have your photo taken. As I'm sure you're seeing in the pictures, the food is excellent and abundant. You can really order every single thing on the menu and they'll be happy to bring it to you. Now, if you have any special dietary requests or ideas of things that would help make your experience better, they're usually happy to help. Once they noticed that the boys liked certain snacks, they always had them at the ready whenever we sat down. Seriously, if you have any issues with any food or anything on your cruise, just let someone know, and usually they'll be happy to fix it for you. They really emphasize customer service and want to get good ratings on their after cruise survey that they ask you to fill out. So on this cruise, as you can see in the pictures, my father also came along. It was nice having an extra pair of hands sometimes, and he's gotten to love cruising as much as we do. So after eating a lot of nights, we would go to see what sort of entertainment was on the ship. Usually there's a nighttime show, and also there's several bands playing at different locations. We would just sit back in the corner and get a lemonade or something to drink and the kids really enjoyed it for the most part, and really it's noisy enough that any noises weren't noticed by anyone. So now to talk a bit about excursions. On this day, we did an official Royal Caribbean excursion where we got off the ship, got on a bus that took us to a location where we had lunch, and got on a speedboat and went to some Mayan ruins, walked around, speedboated back, hopped to the bus, and came back to the ship. The nice thing about official excursions is it's guaranteed they won't leave without you, which is a nice thing, but they are more expensive than booking things on your own. Of course, excursions are optional. One thing you can do is just stay on the boat and enjoy the ship with much fewer lines, be able to do things like the rock climbing wall or the water slides, and so forth. They also usually have some activities on board, like trivia games and so forth, or just hanging out by the pool is certainly a good thing to do. I know our kids would do that 24/7. So I'll be quiet for a little while till I have another thing to chime in with and just let you enjoy the video. Say hi. Look, Joseph.
And what's the face for?
Yes. When your ship comes into port, there'll be a couple of different ways that you'll get onto land. There'll either be a tender, which is a smaller boat that you get on and it brings you in. If that's the case, you usually have to get a time ticket for when you want to get off the boat. If you have an excursion planned, that's all taken care of. You don't have to worry about that. The way that most locations are is the ship can just pull into port and you'll get off and have usually a little long walk to get onto the pier area. So Royal Caribbean actually touts their ships as being autism friendly. They have a special program that you can call and get listed under that allows for priority check-in, boarding, and departure. On this cruise, we didn't really have to use that because since it was still in COVID times, It was probably only about half full, so we didn't have any issues in those cases, but it is available for things now that they're getting back to normal. They also have the ability to do gluten-free and dairy-free meals, and you have an exception to the toilet train policy for Adventure Ocean Kids Club for ages 3 to 11, I believe. And also, they can put your child with the group that they fit with ability wise. So, that's a nice thing that Royal Caribbean does. So there's an example of the ship pulling into port where you could just walk off. Now, the excursion that we went to this day was a private island break, which was nice because we just got off the boat and hopped on this little boat to take us directly to the private island. We didn't even have to get on a bus to take us to another location. It was just off the ship and like a 5-minute boat ride to get to a private island. One slight fail I'll point out is that excursions that end up at a beach, usually you're supposed to check out towels from the ship and bring them along with you. We forgot this day, so we didn't have any beach towels. I believe we bought an extra t-shirt or two in the gift shop on this island just to have some extra cloth to dry off with. So keep that in mind to bring a towel. That's always good advice. So this island had lounge chairs, as you can see. There was a little fake Mayan temple that was a museum on the top of a little hill there. There were animals in cages along one side, which was, I believe, they're rehabilitating them or they were injured. One thing to note is this was very close to an airport, so we had some exciting flybys of small planes. I don't know if I caught any on video here, but that was a excitement, and if your child didn't like loud noises, perhaps this wouldn't be the best choice, but that just goes to show that always do your research on things. Look on the internet for whatever excursions that you're going to go on and look for things like that. So always do your research before booking any excursion. So Joseph loves the water, but he loves to be held while in the water, so he'll always sidle up to one of us. We can eventually get him to go on his own little bit, but he's always wants to be near to us in the water. So we're actually very grateful for that because we know he won't make a break for the water, which is good. This location also had a pool up by the spot where we have lunch in a little while. We picked this because that was an option, because on our previous cruise, if you watch that, Joseph did not like the sand on that trip and would not get into the water no matter how much we tried. So fortunately on this trip, he was fine with the beach and fine with the water. So it just goes to show, keep on trying. And some days our kids will decide that they like things, and sometimes they'll decide that they don't like things, so you just have to pick your battles and go with the flow. We really enjoyed this excursion, and I think we're going to do it on our next cruise that ends up in Roatan. This was actually on Thanksgiving Day, so we had to stop for some desserts after our excursion just to tide us over till Thanksgiving dinner. So it was a formal night, if memory serves me, and I think it was the first time that we've ever gotten slacks on Joseph, so that was a win. And also, we did a polo shirt, so normally he has issues with those, but miracles never cease. We actually got him in a nice looking shirt, so we were very happy with our pictures that we had there. So we purchased a photo package beforehand. Pretty much anything that you want to purchase on the boat, it's cheaper if you buy it beforehand. I think it was in the range of $100, and it included every photo we took in digital form or print form. We had to choose. So that turned out to be an excellent thing, because pretty much anytime we saw a photographer, we'd get a picture. Didn't matter how dressy we were or not dressy. We know that by doing it lots and lots of times, you'll get better picture here and there. So that's something that we'll probably do on most cruises that we go on, where it's an option. Usually the shows that were presented in the main theater are done at least twice a night or on different nights. So if you wanted to, you could have one person hanging out with the kids in the room and the other person going to see the shows. So that's a nice option if you don't think your kids will sit for a show. They have a variety of things from comedians to singing and dancing shows and so forth. So here we are at our day 3. This is a unofficial excursion that we did at Mr. Sancho's. So Mr. Sancho's is an all-inclusive resort that from the port you take a taxi there. It's approximately $17 for a family for the taxi, and Mr. Sancho's is in the $50 to $60 range per adult, and they have a couple of tiers for ages of children. It includes all your food, all your drinks, as much as you want of both of those. And the service is phenomenal. They just keep on top of you, coming by every few minutes. If you're down by the water, they'll come find you down by the water. They do have a little jumpy area that out on the water with inflatables that kids can play on, weather permitting. That's an extra fee. We didn't do it just because we know Joseph doesn't leave us when he's in the water, so we didn't bother with that, but it's an option there. Now, there are a few vendors here, but not too many. If you go to a location such as Crazy Lobster, which we went to on our previous trip with Autism on the Seas, there can be lots and lots of vendors that come by trying to sell things. So that's another case for looking and doing research on your destinations. Our head waiter on this trip was excellent, always coming by to do magic tricks and do jokes with the boys. He was really good. It just goes to show that sometimes you get the best of the best in service on a cruise. So the weather was pretty good for the most part. There was a little rain on this day. So this hot tub did have a cover on it, so I let them enjoy that, and me and my dad went to the adult arcade, so we partook of that for a little while, as you can... Oh, I did hit a decent amount. I think I won $60 for my 20. I just see it as the equivalent of playing a video game, and I don't expect to walk away with any money. They did have miniature golf on the ship, which was certainly fun. But we kept on forgetting about it, so we finally forced ourselves to do a round on this day, which was pretty windy from the rain earlier, so it was enjoyable, though. Oh, and they gave us medals for participating, so that was good. Go, Grandpa! We were never brave enough to try the Flow Rider, but they have nice seating around it where you can sit and watch people attempt and wipe out. So keep in mind the rooms on cruise ships are tiny and the bathrooms are even tinier. So in this case, we got such a good deal, we ended up with 2 rooms. They can fit 4 people in these tiny rooms. They add basically a bunk that drops down from the ceiling in most cases, so you can have 2 on one side, 2 on the other. On our next cruise, we're gonna do 2 and have them connecting, which will be nice. That'll be our first time with connecting rooms. Hello. Tiny capsule shower. Though I do like that better than curtains. On this sailing, COVID restrictions were still enforced that indoors you had to wear a mask. When you were outdoors by the pool, you could take it off, or when you were drinking or eating. So I will say when we were at watching the main shows or at the little band that we show, or like for example there, we would get a water just so we could take our masks off and sip on it occasionally. Since then, the mask requirement has been dropped, so hopefully it'll stay that way. It just makes life easier. So this turned out to be an excellent experience. We're glad we did it. While we know we'll do an Autism on the Seas cruise again in the future, we know we can handle it without the respite built in. Now, it's nice to have that, but if we happen upon a good deal, we will take advantage of it. So thanks for watching. Please give it a like and a subscribe. If you have any questions, please let us know in the comments below. And thanks for listening. Bye-bye.